As a solo esthetician, you are wearing multiple hats. You're the esthetician, you are the marketer, you're the manager, you're the janitor, social media content creator, you're doing it all. And I shared with you in last week's video, part 1 of this mini series, signs to identify whether you're burnt out as an esthetician. So if you haven't watched that already, please go ahead and watch that, because we are going to be diving right into part 2 in this video about how to avoid burnout and how to potentially remove yourself from the path toward burnout. If that's what you're experiencing, if that's the season that you're in, I am here for you, and that is why I'm making this video, to share with you things that I've personally done and learned and implemented into my routine and life that I feel like has helped me to get to a better place. Now, am I perfect at this now? Of course not. I still have my moments, and I'm still growing and learning, and I know that there's more growth and work to be done. But I will say that I am in a much better place with this, and I wanted to share with you just these 5 pillars or categories of things you can evaluate and almost kind of balance better for yourself in order to have a thriving and successful career as an esthetician. First pillar, this is something that you probably should start off with if you are feeling burnt out. Okay, and that is to reset and reevaluate. And I encourage you to do this at the very least, on a yearly basis, where you do these things that I'm going to give to you as action items for this category. But ideally, what I feel like I've been able to accomplish this year, that me and Kristen have also been doing together, my employee, we've been doing this every quarter. So if you can aim for every quarter, great. If you can do every 6 months, awesome. Yearly, that's amazing too. And what you're going to start to see as a theme in this video is by doing it in bite-sized pieces, okay? And then you can accumulate more over time. So for you right now, once a year is already enough, then awesome. But you can work your way toward doing this quarterly. Even if maybe you're not burnt out, I think everybody could benefit from having a therapist, especially as a solo business owner and an entrepreneur. If you are also a parent, a single parent at that, like myself, I think enrolling yourself in therapy is going to be so valuable. It has been for me, and you can do that either through your insurance, or you can seek out an app like BetterHelp. This is not sponsored, by the way. Therapy doesn't have to be super expensive, especially if you do it through your insurance. That's how I'm doing it, and I have sessions weekly. I just feel like it's so valuable to have someone who's like kind of a neutral party that can hear you out, that can give you sound advice, and that you can honestly just like freely vent to. For me, I wasn't comfortable necessarily sharing all of these things with family and friends. So a therapist is really amazing to have, and I highly recommend that you seek out a therapist. And then just reaching out for help in general. These are things that you can ask friends and family and others in your community. You know, if you're a part of a church or a group, or, you know, hopefully you're part of an esthetician type of group. I like to say that this channel is a community for you to seek out help, to ask questions, but it is important to surround yourself with others who can take some of the weight off your shoulders. I know I've grown up struggling asking for help. And so this journey really has forced me to do that, whether that's with just watching your child for a little bit so you can get some free time to yourself, or asking for help with fixing things. Like, you don't need to do it all yourself. And I think as solo estheticians, sometimes we're like, oh, well, we can do it all. We got this. And that's a great mentality to have. But at the same time, like, there's power in being able to humble yourself and ask for help from people, professionals that maybe know how to do it faster than you. And then you're not also then putting yourself through the stress of performing certain things on your own. Closed mouths don't get fed. Clean up. So cleaning up your space, your environment, go through your living space and your workspace, and just go through every single crack and crevice of your drawers, your closet, your clothes, your tools, your knickknacks, like anything that has accumulated and is taking up space. And what I truly ask myself, does this item continue to bring me joy? Have I used this in the last 6 to 12 months? And if not, then it's getting donated. Not only your space, but then also your social media feeds. Sometimes certain pages can be triggering. And until you're in a better headspace, maybe it'd be best that you either mute that account or you remove that account from your feed until you're in a better headspace for you to be able to see, other people that maybe are triggering you right now. But later on, you can unmute them or follow them again. And I found myself, kind of cleaning up my feed and also just removing myself from like celebrity gossip pages and just things that just weren't feeding my soul. And then also cleaning up your relationships. And this one was a really tough one for me. I've talked about this many times, but I just feel like there are definitely people in your life that could be hindering you. You can dive into that in another video or in person or face-to-face in a call. But I've had to make some tough choices of who is in my life regularly and who's not. But with that being said, isolation for me was kind of necessary. For me to like fully reset and recenter, I needed to stop, going out. I needed to stop being around certain people. I needed to spend more time with myself, spend more time with my son, and people that I know were really in my corner. And even at that, sometimes isolation, I do believe, is a time for you to reset, to refill your cup again. And so I do find for about 3 to 6 months, I kind of just kept to myself. I didn't do anything super extra, especially on the weekends. I really used that time to just be with me. And you really want to just sit with yourself and reevaluate like your goals and what, your main purpose is for the year and for the quarter. And, again, I can get into that more specifically in another video, but that's just something me and Kristen do on a regular basis now, is we're like, what did we accomplish this quarter that we're proud of, and what can we work on for the next? And so I want you to take the moment to just reflect and just acknowledge the things that you have accomplished already. I always just had to accomplish more and more, and that, something that I've unpacked in therapy, learning that I've just had to always be doing something, always accomplishing something for reasons, from my childhood. And so some of you may be the same way, and that can lead to burnout. So just learning how to acknowledge your current accomplishments and being okay with not having to accomplish things all the time. I think a lot of the burnout tends to be in your mental space. You feel burnt out mentally, if anything first, like I mentioned in the last video. And so when you can narrow things down and habit stack, which I learned in a book called Atomic Habits. So after you've reset, like reevaluate and then make a new routine for yourself that is so easy to accomplish that you can do it no matter what. And so I had to ask myself, what is the bare minimum that I feel like I can accomplish no matter what mood I'm in, no matter what's going on? And that for you might be different than for me. I'll share what mine is, but you have to think about what's going to work for you and what's going to be sustainable long term instead of you completely disappearing. Because I promise you, you may get to a point where you're like, I just don't want to do this. I want to disappear. Creating a routine for yourself that's like, I'm going to just accomplish this little list of to-dos this week because I'm just mentally spent. And if you could feel okay doing that, then I'm telling you, it's going to make a world of a difference. That's pillar number 1. That's probably the one I spent the most time on. These other ones I'm going to brush through, and hopefully maybe later on, depending on what you're interested in, let me know in the comments what pillar you think I should dive a bit deeper into, maybe in a different video. The next pillar is going to be about balance and boundaries. So that is when it comes to your business, that is setting clear booking rules. So me personally, I only take clients 4 to 6 weeks from the current date. I've had clients ask me, can I book out for the rest of the year? Can I book 2 months from now, 3 months from now? And every single time I have maybe allowed that to happen, I always regret it. Okay, so what tends to work for me is the 4 to 6 week mark. It gives me the flexibility to adjust my schedule for the future. So, things like weddings or reunions or just time with family. Like my mom is here visiting right now from Hawaii, and good for me to be able to kind of be able to plan for that, even though she only told me maybe like 2 months ago. It's just life. You want to still be able to make time for your life. And that's what boundaries relates to in this scenario. Is like, you still want to prioritize your business, but you also want to make time for the things that bring you joy, make you happy, and make you who you are, and fill your cup so that you can give to others. Defining set hours. So not just telling clients like whatever works, whatever time works for you. Give them specific time frames. Give them specific times that are going to be healthy for you. So I would avoid, offering availability at 6 a.m. or 11 p.m. Like, don't do that to yourself. I know in the beginning when you first start your business, you're like, well, I just want to be able to take clients and I'm just going to take whoever and whenever I can. But that's not going to be sustainable for you long term. And so I encourage you, if you're just getting started, to build a schedule for yourself that is going to be able to sustain you long term. Even though you might not necessarily make as much money quickly, you'll make more money long term because then you won't quit. And you'll be a better version of yourself working on these people. Also, I want to throw in there too is to make sure you're blocking out breaks in your shift. So now put out at least a 30-minute buffer between every client. Sometimes, there's exceptions, of course, if like the day just is like that, but I really try not to bend this. I give myself at least that 20 to 30-minute buffer in between clients so that I can go pee, I can drink some water, I can eat a snack, I can mentally reset myself from working on the first client and then to the next, because there's some people who just require a little more energy, and that's okay, but you need to be able to, again, refill your cup in between clients. I used to kind of try to spread out clients throughout the week and thought maybe that was better for me, but I've realized that I would much rather have like intentional days where I'm working on clients like for a majority of the day, and then there's some days where I'm just focusing on filming or I'm just focusing on doing a project. I find that works a bit better for me versus like having to go into facial mode and then go into filming mode and then go into, and again, there's sometimes exceptions to this because of life. Sometimes that might look like you just taking 1 or 2 clients a day and saving the second half of the day for follow-up and filming and whatnot, so that, again, you're not mixing it up too much where you're having to shift and be a different person every other hour. You know what I mean? It's tough, at least for me, to do that. I have to have set intentional time for filming, especially videos like this, where I need to reflect and think and plan it and put it together. And I don't want to do that while I'm scrambling, trying to prepare for a client or risk running late for a client. That's fine. You can still take some clips during services, little ones here and there, but I feel like the ones where you really want to get those good angles and you want to have your microphone to capture the sounds. Like me and Kristen are doing these, and it's like a lot of stop and go and lights, and it kind of can disturb the client's experience. So I prefer to do separate filming sessions, and again, it just helps me to stay focused and intentional on that task. My posting schedule. So like I know a lot of you guys have talked to me about social media being a struggle for you guys and feeling burnt out with that. I feel like my bare minimum is posting once a week on my feed and once a day on a working day on my stories. And then I give myself one day that is completely off social media. Like I'm not posting anything. I'm trying my best not to peek on there, even though sometimes I do. But just to give yourself a social media cleanse for one day and to just spend time with either yourself or your family or your child and just being fully present. I have found that is so helpful for me. Make this boundary for before you go to sleep and after you wake up from sleeping, to give yourself at least a 30-minute, maybe 30 minutes might feel like a long time for some of you guys, but maybe to start, you can do 5 to 10 minutes of not touching your phone right when you wake up, okay? Because as soon as you touch that phone and you look at it and you see a text from so-and-so, or you start scrolling, and there is science behind this about the release of dopamine in your brain from doing this, and doing this right when you wake up and when you go to sleep just like automatically puts your head in this like hamster wheel. And so I think just giving yourself that time to just wake up, have your your moments of gratitude, wash your face, like just let your body wake up and get ready for the day. And so I've found that having my phone on do not disturb from certain time to a certain time, so that I'm not getting notifications in the middle of the night, and I'm not on my phone in the middle of the night, and then I'm not on my phone for 30 minutes after I wake up and before I go to sleep. That has been key for me lately, and there is science behind that. So just take my word for it. It will make an improvement for you. I heard this in a podcast. It was about increasing your productivity, and that was that we are so bad at starting a task and then getting interrupted and then not finishing it. And this does contribute to burnout, because then when you start feeling like you're not finishing tasks or you're not doing enough, you start, at least for me, start feeling overwhelmed, like I'm not doing enough and I need to do more. Learning how to actually complete one task and complete it at one, sitting, or just not hopping from one project to another, you're going to feel a lot more accomplished. Okay, so every single day, pick your top 3 priorities that you're trying to accomplish for that day. And I know there's usually more than 3, trust me, but the absolute most important things that you need to do, there should be 3 of those things a day. And as long as you're able to accomplish those 3 things, you need to be able to be okay and say, I did my best, and I will finish. Ask yourself, what can I do tomorrow? And I know I'm not a big fan of procrastination. This has nothing to do with procrastination. This is that you're accomplishing it, but it's like, what's more important for today that I need to accomplish? And the way that you're going to even come up with that is, rewinding back to you having your goals and all of those things very clear and broken down into daily, weekly, and monthly tasks. Automating and outsourcing. So as you guys know, I have an employee working for me. I have a nanny who is helping me with my son. Now, not only that, but I think you need to have automated things. So an automated scheduling system, so people are able to book and cancel whatever on their own. Also having a financial system that's on automatic. I have a bank set up now where I have automatic transfers into a savings account, so that every week there's a certain amount of money going into the bank for retirement, for emergencies, for fun. And that way, doing these habits without even having to think about it. So it's just one less thing on your plate. In general, being able to pivot and be flexible is key. Like today, as you guys may see, my camera is a little different, right? Because I'm filming on my phone. If you're able to pivot and adapt and find solutions to things, you are going to be such a successful entrepreneur. Just learning to be flexible and pivoting and knowing that it's not the end of the world if you have to make a little change to your regular routine. And that's why sometimes you'll notice that I'll post a video on Friday versus Thursday, because my therapist taught me this was, can this be pushed one day versus not doing it at all and then skipping a week? And I was like, you know what, you're right. So that's, if you see me posting on a Friday here and there, it's because life happened and I had to pivot. So find out what for you is going to be your strategy to help you pivot when maybe you're having a week that you didn't expect. And I will say this week has been one of those weeks. And thankfully, I've learned to pivot, and I'm showing up still. The next pillar is going to be about self-care and recovery, which Kristen is here waiting for me because we're about to do a little teeny service on each other because we're getting to peel season and we're trying out some things. We're just making time to move your body, to get your facials, to get, if you like massages, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, do that regularly. And also getting regular hours of sleep. So 7 to 8 hours of sleep is what's recommended. I have been trying my very best to try to stick to this because it has made a world of a difference for me. There's like kind of this hype around like, oh yeah, I stayed up and pulled all-nighter and yeah, like I'm doing that. But truthfully, long-term, that is not going to sustain you. And it is so bad for you. Just your life expectancy goes down. Your skin will start to show it. Your body's just going to start to shut down if you are running on 3 to 4 hours of sleep. And I was running on 3 to 4 hours of sleep daily. There's no such thing as catching up on sleep, by the way. I learned that. So if you are hoping that you're going to catch up on sleep on the weekends, like you're just throwing off your REM cycle. So don't do that to yourself. Also meditation, journaling, shadow work, just having moments of stillness. Like I just did that before I started filming because I was feeling overwhelmed by the things that I have going on this week and things that are happening unexpectedly right now. I had to set a timer for 10 minutes and I just laid there and closed my eyes and I just focused on my breathing and I focused on like my different parts of my body and I was just like, okay. And it gave me a good reset. I propped right up and turned this on. I was like, hey, let's do this. And I do go over this in my course, which I've mentioned to you before. The early bird pricing is going to be closing down September 1st. We do have a couple of enrollees who are going to be participating in September in this training, but in day one, I do go over the fundamentals and mention things like ergonomics, correct body mechanics for when you're doing services, that is going to be key. And that goes into like working out and yoga and stretching and just moving your body and taking care of your temple, because that's going to be beneficial for you long term. Last pillar. So thank you for getting to this part of the video. Make sure you like it, share it, comment below what tip has been most helpful for you so far. Mindset and spiritual alignment. So I had to really learn to detach myself from this idea of like, you know, I need to get a lot of likes and views and what comes with being an influencer. And just in our day and age, I feel like you just get so caught up needing to be this certain person that when you're not able to do certain things, like I would just get so upset when I couldn't post as much, or I just didn't feel confident to show up on camera. And so I've really learned to like detach from that making me worth something. As soon as you start making videos for the pure joy of it because you want to, the likes and the views will come with that. And also just reconnecting for me with God, with nature, with spiritual practices, whatever grounds you, keep doing that regularly. I found myself, I hadn't prayed before a meal in years, and I started praying before I ate. I started praying before leaving the house and over my son when he went to bed and before I went to bed. And, you know, just little practices that just keep you connected with your spirituality and just the bigger picture, because sometimes we lose sight of that, especially when we're burnt out. And then just replacing empty things like scrolling with podcasts, audiobooks. I will say when I first started to work on me again, I listened to 2 books from Rhonda Byrne's, The Power and The Magic. Now, The Power is going to be more focused around love and reminding you what kind of our overall like purpose and power is being here. And then also The Magic is surrounded by gratitude, and it actually gives you daily things to reflect on and to do to practice more gratitude. And I've mentioned this to you a lot before too, is gratitude is key when it comes to just being in a healthier state of mind. This does not even encompass everything, but these are kind of the key things that I feel like I've implemented that have, you know, pulled me out of feeling burnt out or helped me avoid burnout. But we're here together. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye.